This training video covers Step 7 of the HeavyJob Foreman's Reference Guide, entering production quantities for your cost codes. In this video, we're going to look at a couple of different ways to enter production quantities. I already have a time card open, and I have selected the cost codes, and I have added the cost code notes. As you can see on the time card, I have 4 cost codes. You may have noticed that 2 of them are duplicated. We're going to talk about this. The first method we'll look at for adding production quantities is very simple. If you just click in the yellow box for any given cost code, the first thing I want you to notice before we put the quantity in is that if you look at the bottom of the time card, you see the budgeted quantity in the unit of measure that's listed. So this particular cost code, hoisting wall forms, the budgeted quantity has 32,819 square feet. The second cost code, hoisting form material, the budgeted quantity has 6,324 square feet. So it can be as simple as entering, to the best of your ability, the quantity that you completed for that day for that activity. So for hoisting wall forms, if you got 500 square feet, you would simply type that in there. The second cost code, hoisting form material, and if you need to see the entire cost code, hoisting form material at slab, you can just hover over the cost code description. So for that cost code, let's say I had 100 square feet. Now before we go on to the duplicate of that cost code, let's talk about why you might have a duplicate in there. There's probably 2 different reasons that you could have the cost code on the time card twice the same day. The first one would be if something had come up on the project and you felt like you were doing something out of scope that was connected to that original activity. So you might want to flag this cost code, the second version of this cost code, as T&M. That's simple. I'll right click on the cost code and mark T&M, and you're going to pick the second version of that cost code, check the box, say OK. You'll notice that there's a small green tick in the upper left corner of that cost code now, indicating that that is possibly T&M or out of scope work. And you can track the quantity for that out of scope work separately. So if you had 50 square feet that was in your mind T&M, you could track it that way. The other scenario where you might want a cost code on a time card twice would be if it was rework. So basically the same process, a right click on the cost code, and this time select mark as rework, and we'll put that second cost code as rework. I'm actually going to remove the T&M checkbox just so we're not confused. And now we have this cost code, this second version of hoisting form material, flagged as rework. For whatever reason, we had to redo 50 square feet of that. And the quantity that you enter for a cost code that's marked as rework is tracked separately in HeavyJob from the production quantity that you enter on the time card. And finally, I could put the last cost code quantity in for set and strip side radius, and that is in square feet, and I'll do 100 square feet there. So that's one way to fill out all of your production quantities. And it is a minimum expectation that every foreman fills in the production quantities to the best of their ability every day. We all realize and understand that there will be cost codes where it's not practical to enter a production quantity for that day. If the entire day was prep work and you really didn't have anything completed, you might leave the quantity blank, and then when you complete the activity tomorrow, go ahead and fill in the completed quantity. It might be something that you just don't know what the quantity is. It might be something that doesn't make sense to try and track a quantity, like traffic control in percent complete or something like that. So that's the first way of entering production quantities. For the second method, I've cleared out what I entered originally. We're back to 4 yellow squares, and I'm going to use the production quantity button. When you click on this button, you'll get a lot more information than just hovering over the cost code or clicking in the quantity box. You'll see each cost code from the time card listed, and it has the same setup. If you have more than 5 cost codes, you'll do cost codes 6 through 10, 11 through 15, etc. You'll see the budget and the unit of measure for each cost code. You'll see the original quantity. That would be any quantity that had been already in place when the job was sent to you. And you'll see the to-date quantity. This would be quantity that you had entered to date, or possibly quantity that had been updated from the manager system sent out to your field system through various methods. So if you look at the to-date quantity for each cost code, you can see that that also generates a percent complete based on the math between the to-date quantity and the original budget. Now on this screen, because you have this additional information, you are able to enter your quantities for all cost codes on one screen, and you also have 2 different ways to enter the quantities. If you know what today's quantity is, you can click in that box and type in that quantity. And as you tab or click on another box, it will update the to-date quantity and update the percent complete. So for my original, if I had 5,000, on my cost code that I have marked with rework, I'm going to say that the in-scope work was 100 square feet and the rework was 50 square feet. And you can see that it's updating everything, the to date and the percent complete. The other method that we'll use on this final cost code is to actually change the percent complete. So let's say at the end of the day today, I knew that I was 100% complete with that set and strip cost code. If I come in the bottom here and change the percent complete to 100 and click on another box or tab, you can see that HeavyJob calculates how much today's quantity should be in order to make the to-date or total quantity 100% complete. So if I like all of the quantities that I've entered here, I click accept. One of the important reasons that we enter production quantities on our time cards each day is to help our engineers in the office keep track of quantities, but also it's for your use to enable you to use the production analysis tool and see how did I do today compared to the budget. And if you have quantities and you click on production analysis, you can see that where you have a quantity entered, HeavyJob is able to calculate an expected value, compare it to your actual, and show you the difference. So you can look at the production analysis at the end of the day and see that you made money, lost money. You can look at it in a lot of different ways, total dollars, dollars per unit. So you can look at how you did today compared to the budget. And you can also look at it for different date ranges, today, this week, this month, and to date. So it's important to enter those quantities so that at the very least you can look at how did I do today, and based on where you need to make improvements. For example, if you look at this first cost code, hoisting form material, I lost a fair amount of money today. So tomorrow, if I have to do the same thing, I need to figure out a better way to do that. And that's it for entering production quantities.